really enjoy getting to get it. We'll take a drive down this first road. We call this Superintendent's Boulevard. This is where the headquarters building for the service unit sits. Once we get past that, you'll see off to your left the North Platte East Departure Yard. Excuse me, my left, your right. You gotta remember I'm facing your way. If you look over to your left, you will see the diesel shop. We'll get a little closer look at that too as we go. Fire away with questions. You're up. How many? Yep. So we average, go off of last month, it was 12 coal trains loaded each day, which is, just balance that out. They go west and east through here, so usually about 24 trains per day that will pass through. We have some higher days. We're coming off of a higher day yesterday of 15. By comparison, when we get over into one of the other yards, if you think back to 2008, they named the building area 51 because in one single day, 51 coal trains pass through that area. That is a coal train right there. Well, if we play this right, we'll get right up here next to the main and drive right by it as it goes. Go ahead. How many diesel engines are in this yard? So right now today, actually I just pulled this one right before we came out here. Right now there are 132 engines in this yard to go and pull freight. In addition to the 132, we have pools of locomotives. Some are for certain tasks. In some of the storage buckets, we have about another 80 locomotives. So there's in and around this yard, there's probably close to 250 locomotives sitting. So there is, as of today, as of about an hour ago, there are 96 locomotives in the shop. So that is included in the 132 that are on hand to pull freight here today. I just saw the Katy leave this morning, but we might see some of the others. I'll take a look. I got a sheet of all the locomotives that are here right now in my back pocket. I'll let you know if there is one close by. Oh, a heritage locomotive. Good question. So the question was, are there any heritage locomotives in town today? So Union Pacific has, through the great heritage of the railroad, has made many mergers and acquisitions. Don't ask me to recite them all off the top of my head, but we have taken from each of the railroads that Union Pacific has merged with, we have created a heritage fleet of locomotives. Inside of those, we have one for each of the railroads that we have merged with through the years. And then there's some other ones. A couple years back, we had the 4141 out here for President George Bush that was used at his funeral. That one's now at the Texas A&M there at the George Bush Library. We've got one for the employees. We've got one for our veterans. Quite a few different makes, models, colors, wraps, schemes of the locomotives. The Katy locomotive is which one's the Katy there, Wade? That's yeah. It was the merger with Kansas and Missouri, Kansas, and Topeka. Yep. There we go. Those are all the EMD SD70A style locomotives. When they first came out with those, the EMD SD70As, I was working inside of a diesel shop, and every one of them came with a golden reverser. It was pretty cool. If you can stumble across one of those, they're pretty neat keepsake. The 4014 will be coming through Bailey at the end of this month. Yep, it'll be set up right over there, where actually if you go up in the tower, you'll be able to see it down by the diesel shop. All right, to your your left, my right, this is the North Platte East Departure Yard. This is the last stop of the North Platte East Hump. The North Platte East Hump is an inline hump. That means everything is all in line. The receiving yard right to the bowl, which is the classification yard, to the departure yard, which is where the cars are trimmed out, built into a train, and then they depart. If you look to your right, Missouri called West Labadie. This train cycles in up and through the Powder River Basin. Actually, West Labadie is one of our largest customers and set counts when it comes to the coal trains. This one here is I'm going to presume, a 150 car train. You might see if this is a combo coal train. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if it is. I do believe that it is, which we do. People call them mega trains, monster trains. We call them a combo coal train or a combo train. We take two trains up in the Powder River Basin. We put them together. We build about a 17,000 foot, 34,000 ton coal train and move it across usually 3 to 5 crew districts, which is quite a lot more efficient. This train is going to St. Louis, Missouri. Probably, if we just go off of the 150 car set there, probably about 22,000 tons. Each car would hold 143,000. Not concrete on all the tracks, but we do have a lot of concrete ties. If we go up the Powder River, the South Mole sub, and across the east-west for quite a ways here, we have a lot of concrete. Then we turn back to plate. Yep, this is a combo coal train. So what? Okay, so those engines in the middle are for horsepower, right? Tractive effort. So that's probably, I'm spitballing here, I'm going to say probably 32,000 tons. So there's engines on the head end, there's engines in the middle, there's engines on the rear. The engineer and conductor sit on the head of the train. Those in the middle and these on the rear, those are all radio controlled. So they link them up. It's a radio link. Anybody here have fun with circuits and that type of thing? So it's the radio signal converted to electricity, which drives different relays and those type of things. And the lead locomotive consist then controls the back consists, which are called remote consists. There's mid DPs and then there's the rear DPs. Each of them has a controlling unit. The others just follow along off the commands of those through a 32-pin MU circuit that tells it what it's requested and what it's supposed to do. Strictly for the power, there is a fuel benefit to the more you have, right? So it shrinks up way the fast facts on miles per gallon there. There we go, about 500 miles per gallon of fuel on a freight train. So if you think about what that allows us to do, anybody here travel the interstate? Yeah, pretty jam-packed with trucks. It's pretty entertaining. Two of my brothers own their own trucking companies. I'm a railroader. We have lots of that coal cave. Actually, I do on that one there. So the head portion of that was from North Antelope Mine. It's Peabody Company. It's in the Powder River Basin up by Gillette, Wyoming. So there's 7 major mines up there that we still that are still in business that provide the coal for us. They are North Antelope, North Rochelle are the same companies, just 2 different mines, 2 different pits. There's a Black Thunder mine, a West Thunder mine, a Caballo mine, a Bel Air mine, a Coal Creek mine, and a Cordero mine. So if you look over to your left, you'll see the East Mini RIP. RIP stands for Repair in Place. Union Pacific has funny names for repair tracks. We call it one spots. It's not a common name. That is what would be like an expediter track. So that is like medium bad order repairs of freight cars. They'll usually turn out about 13 repaired cars each day that we then put right back out to the customer. Some of the fastest cycle times for repaired bad orders happens right there at the East Mini, directly off of that east hump. Straight ahead of us here, you'll see those are a mother slug set. So the mother is the power, the slug is for the weight and tractive effort. Those are used for humping. They are RCL engines controlled by a person running a box. Anybody likes remote controls? That's there's nobody in those two engines. They might ride around on them, but they're running them from a box. So they have to stay out in front and protect the movements, but they can be in a lot of different locations. If you look over to your right, this is the North Platte West hump. This is the higher volume of the two humps. As you can see here, I said the east hump's an inline. This is a side-by-side. So right here where we see these RCL engines, that is the receiving yard. That's where the trains come into North Platte Yard and they stop, and it's what's called a termination. They then pull them, they get inspected, they pull them back here on what's called a pullback. Once they go up the pullback, then they shove them back to the crest of the hill, which is the hump. They hump them into a bowl. Then they'll go down to the other end. They will start trimming the cars out. They trim them out another pullback, and then they shove them back into the departure yard. So it's receiving yard, hump, classification yard, departure yard. Whereas on the east side, it's all in one line. Yes, sir. How many derailments on the hump? They go in spurts. There's a lot of things we do very specifically. We pick certain cars with certain types of drawbars, car lengths, drawbar lengths that go to certain rails, preferably the inside rails because the drawbars swing. We double spike our ties through all the turnouts going into the bowls. That keeps the rail down on the ties and the fasteners when they're getting humped. We make sure we bleed all the air. We release all the hand brakes. We have a couple of different people in the process that do that. First on the inbound inspection, second on the pin puller up on the hill. With that, derailments are pretty few and far between. Occasionally we get the cross drawbar derailments down in the body of the track. The humps all ran off of a computer system. The computer system actually connects to the RCL locomotives, which sets the speed. The cars pick up, they know if they're loaded, they know if they're empty, they know which rail they're going into, they know how many cars are already in that rail, and then they use, when they come off of the hump, they go through two sets of retarders to set the speed. So say the car has to go 3,200 feet to the end of the rail because there's nothing in there, it'll let it go faster. But if the rail's almost full and there's only room for one or two cars, it'll slow it way down where it just glides into a hook or a joint, right? If I throw out any nomenclature, just let me know. After 19 years of talking railroad, I tend to talk railroad. So, all right, there you go. Yep, we're following. At the moment, looks like they were doubling up to go and grab and cut, and then yes, where we kicked off at 3 o'clock, we have a shift change going. We like to measure ourselves on efficiency. We have systems that tell us whenever we stop, let the locomotive sit idle for 10 minutes, those type of items. What we find is that at shift change we have overlapping start times, but there's several days a week where we only have one job humping cars, and on that you might see some of this stop time here. Hopefully we'll get back around to one of the humps and get to see some cars coming off the hill. That's, oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, you do not want to work down here without good hearing protection. It is, actually whenever I'm hanging out on the humps, I wear the ear muffs. It is that loud. Anybody here live in North Platte? You hear it? Oh yeah. I've been in North Platte since 2016. Took another job over in Omaha where I oversaw the mechanical department for the northern region before I moved back here into the role I'm in now. After 4 years of living here, I didn't notice the retarders. After moving away and coming back, I heard them all night long. What's that? Uh-huh. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It'll pierce you. What do you got there, sir? I think it ended up being 38 intermodal cars. So 38 well cars. It was that was a Z train, one of our premium UPS. I did not hear what the final cause on it was, but that made quite a mess. Those trains are moving down the railroad very fast. When you see them, did you see any pictures of it? When you see that big pile like that, they call that accordion style. And when you see it accordion style, you know that something very sudden happened. So, yeah, if you look over here, where all this grass is, this is actually the old bowl. I don't know if anybody ever made it out to North Platte. I was not here when there was the old bowl and the roundhouse down on the east end and those type of things, but there's still a few of the tracks laying out through there from the old bowl and those type of things. The RIP track, the repair track down there that we drove by coming in, that's the one I call the one spot for the heavy repairs. That used to actually be fed directly from the old bowl. Everything we've got now that we put in is 136. In the old bowl, there's some old 90-pound stuff. But we don't use that except for as little stub tracks where we park for transfers, those type of items. So every rail has a use. It's just we try not to move the heavy stuff we have anymore on the 90-pound rail. Yeah. All right. Once again, over to your left, that is the bowl. Those refrigerated cars you see there, those wood cars, that tank car, that is East Bowl 1. There are 63 bowl tracks in the East Bowl. There's 49 bowl tracks in the West Bowl. Which is interesting. The West Bowl actually handles more cars per day than the East Bowl. But with the inline hump, the room's needed where the departure yard shrinks down to just 6 departure rails, whereas the West departure has 13 departure rails. So you got to have a little more capacity to hold cars in the bowl, pull them out, depart the trains very quickly, and then go again. There goes some of our 136 engines diesels here that are hanging out in the yard. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to start calling them diesels. There we go. Looks like we're pulling some pins up on the east hump. So to your left up here, once we clear the trees, you'll see the top of the east hump. Wade, is the east hump the tallest hump on the Union Pacific system? Well, Wade says the tallest hump in North America. So the crest of the hill is actually the highest. I knew it was on the UP system. I'll go with Wade. He is a better tour guide. That it is the tallest in North America. 34 feet, Wade? 34 feet. You will be the next tour guide. Yes. Hired. Yep, those are auto racks. Yes. We do have to load them. Everything except for a TIH, PIH, and a special instruction car is pretty much a humping car nowadays. Yep. With that hump computer, there's a lot more control over the speeds and where they're going. Yep. So yeah, Wade was pointing out now on Union Pacific there are 5 total hump yards, classification yards. 2 of those reside in North Platte. So there they are. Those empties are destined to Chicago. Manually. So there's a person, we can't see him, he's on the other side. But he has a board he watches that gives him the last 3 numbers of the car and how many cars go together. He just walks back and forth pulling pins. The tanker off the tracks, that was a car that had derailed. to clear it up. They picked it up, set it off the tracks. We'll carry it over by the repair track, or sometimes we'll rebuild those. If you look off to your right, this is the North Platte East run through. It was actually state-of-the-art, one of its kind. When in the days of 51 coal trains a day, there was a train departing there about every 15 minutes. But it's set up just like a pit stop. Oil, water, sand, fuel, you name it. There's pits that go underneath all of them. Locomotives come in that get blitzed by the locomotive department. They get a full servicing while the car department inspects the trains, and off they go. North Platte for the Union Pacific system is the largest car department, the largest locomotive department on the railroad, as goes with being the world's largest classification yard. And with that, most of the work that's federally required is pushed to North Platte to be done here. So a lot of cars inspected every day. All the employees in North Platte, there's, what is that number, Wade? Probably 2,800, I was going to say. Yep. And then, yeah, that's the bureaucracy that we live in. So the question was, how many total employees inside of North Platte? And it's 2,800. So you can start out working for a railroad in a lot of different places. So before I came to the railroad, I was an electrician and an electronics technician. I hired on in the mechanical department servicing locomotives. They then moved me over to work on freight cars, to do some of that, and then I supervised, and I've been in 3 different departments and have held 11 jobs now. But I started out as a frontline person working on the locomotives 19, almost 20 years ago. You would have to start out as a conductor. You have to first get your license as a Class 8, which is a federally required license, and then we go through training. We make you an engineer. This here is called the sheep jump. It's got a lot of different names: power lead overpass, sheep jump. This was built to be able to get power from the west side of the yard, and it's funny we say west side of the yard. Once you go over the sheep jump, all of the traffic goes west. On this side of the yard, all of the traffic goes east. There's a few we mix it up a little bit here and there, but predominantly east and west. This is the best view on the railroad. I would highly encourage you, if you know somebody or you're willing to pay a pretty penny when the steam train comes through, sit up here and watch it. That's the coolest thing. Especially, so anybody here work for General Electric or EMD, which is now Progress Rail? I am a fan of the General Electric versus the EMDs. Now, for me, it's the propulsion systems. The General Electric, as somebody that worked on them, I preferred to work on the General Electric propulsion system. A lot of the EMDs, it was the Siemens system, which was not bad to work on, except for when you start diving into the real depth of it. It's all in German. I don't speak any German. It seems like, so we have a variety of different kinds. A lot of these old SD70s, 70Ms that are running around, still strong locomotives, are DC. GE built some really good fleets. I'm not a fan of the Tier 4s that they built. Hopefully not offend anybody with that, but Wabtec, which is GE, formerly GE, is now Wabtec. They're doing a complete modification on about 150 locomotives a year. Those locomotives that they're turning out right now are between a 60 and 80,000 mean miles between failures locomotive. It's the most reliable locomotive in our fleet. As somebody that owns the transportation operations, I'm a fan of the going further without it breaking. That, and I lived through quite a few years of the SD90M, which was not really a great operating system in my opinion. Some of the SD70 Aces, those are a pretty strong running locomotive as well, which is the EMD. Yep, we get over to this side. This is called the West Run Through. Interesting. North Platte was really kind of the epicenter of coal going up to the Powder River. As coal has slowed down, we still depart that 15 or so, 12 to 15 coal trains a day. We've also moved in quite a bit of intermodal. So you'll see some stackers over here. There's actually 2 flat switching intermodal yards inside of North Platte. North Platte, which is probably one of the more interesting facts, is the 6th largest intermodal departing facility on the Union Pacific Railroad. So if you think about where intermodal cars start and where they go, it's interesting to have a place in the middle of America be the 6th largest on the system. It's even larger than some of the dock locations. Reason being is we take a lot of the trains and the traffic and we chop it up and we make new trains kind of as a middle point melting pot of intermodal cars. So intermodal cars would be containers on flat cars. So if you look over here, you can see containers and then also trailers on flat cars. So when you see a box or a trailer on a rail car, that is intermodal. All kinds of interesting things moving in intermodal anymore. There's actually some customers that fill up containers with alfalfa and ship their alfalfa that way. Not something you'd usually think of. Some more of the West Run Through here. We'll go back by and we'll see the actual, we call it here in North Platte, we call it the Big Shop and the West Shop. This area over here where you see the locomotives off to your left, this is what we call the Little Shop. And then it's also got a servicing facility, service center, where we fuel, sand, oil, water locomotives. Also perform repairs there. Usually release about 8 locomotives a day off of this shop, while the Big Shop releases right around 30. So it's a goal of releasing 40 locomotives from a broke status or an inspection status to a ready to pull freight status. There's a caboose or away car over here to your left. We use those as a blizzard bus. So when they close down the roads and you cannot get a vehicle out on the roads, we put locomotives on either side of it, make them double-ended, one facing each way, and we run that up and down the rails. We take crews to trains, take crews off trains, and that way we can keep everything moving even when the roads are closed. Cabooses are not used anymore as the number of people in a train crew has reduced. So the distributed power capability, the technology that advanced to be able to put an engine on the rear, so you can control things from the rear of the train versus just having somebody back there to help control, mostly through the distributed power. With that advancement in technology, the size of a train crew is reduced from 5 to 3 to now where it's a 2-person crew. So Area 51, I think I gave that one away. This was named back in 2008 with 51 coal trains each day going through here. Yeah, it was a busy place. Yeah, there's 19 rails over here. You had a crew on duty about every 30 minutes. And the train departing, it was one after the other after the other. Yep. Yeah, there's actually, I think right now we're up to 3 different section gangs just inside the yard, and then we have a whole bunch of other gangs, I guess you'd call them. We have surfacing gangs, welding gangs, those type of things that can split up. You see a little bit, there's a couple messes going on over here right now. We started about a month ago installing 30,000 new ties inside this yard. So, it is very interesting too. Yes. Yes. For them to get in and get to work and for us to depart. Go ahead. That right there is the only operable caboose in North Platte. There's another one in Marysville, Kansas. On this service unit, we have one in Cheyenne, Wyoming, one in Denver, Colorado, one in Marysville, Kansas, one in North Platte, one in Morrill, Nebraska, and one in Bill, Wyoming. What was that? Yep, it is in North Yard in Denver. It would be on the, I think my directions here. I used to cover Denver some. It would be down there by the old material yard, which they redid, the storage yard. It used to sit down there. Yep, to the north side of the rip track there. One right here, and then I'm coming to you. What's my opinion on Amtrak? It's a wonderful thing. I've only ridden it once. We'll get one back here.
I just wondered, do you have any information on the Inland Port Authority?
The Inland Port Authority?
Yeah.
So the request has been made, and they've received the Inland Port Authority, which is a pretty big deal. It's supposed to be going in over here by Hershey. So that would be, if you run west out of here, down the main, just a couple miles down around milepost. So we're at milepost right now, we're about 289. So it'd be right around 295, 297. And from the numbers, so ours starts over there at Grand Island on the service field. Yep, so that how the Circ 7s work. And then ours go down that way. Then you get to 301, that's O'Fallon's, that's the branch where it splits off to the coal line or the main. But as far as when it's coming and how it's coming, I do not. You missed out Ryan Long. He's a member of the chamber. He's got probably a lot more information on that. I know some things, I just don't know what I'm allowed to say out loud. So, an inland port, it would not, well, it's interesting to have an inland port authority, but that's not attached to water, right? But it is, it's the ability to be a hub to take multiple products, be like a transload transfer facility where rail cars will come in, trucks can come in and load to rail cars, or rail cars can unload and load onto trucks and then distribute out across whatever logistics network they're using. Just a way to mix up the modes of transport. So you can start with the rail car, move it to a truck, or you can go from a truck, move it to a rail car. Yes, sir, young man. Okay. Oh, wow. But the next train I ride, I've ridden plenty of these. The next train I ride, I'm going to go on the Rocky Mountaineer. It looks beautiful. It's going to take me a couple years of saving, it looks like. So we do have some drainage issues, yes. Now I have, in the time I've been here, I've not seen it flood, but when we get heavy rains and consecutive, we actually have about 5 different tracks that we have to bring pumps in and pump trucks to pump the water out, because it does actually go up over the ramp. Keeping the drains open is a full-time job. Yes. Yep. Oh goodness, some of the ties we're replacing over there are probably in the 30-year range. So there's a lot of life in a good tie. So you'll see them last longer in a rail yard like this. It's going to depend on your weather, your road base, which is the base underneath of it. This is between 2 rivers, so it is soft. So we do tend to wear out a little bit more, probably a little bit quicker. If you go to some other places, you'll find ties that are probably in there in the ground for 40 years. The concrete ties, not so much. Those are a little more often. We replace concrete ties a little more often. Some of it is just how they wear. There's a couple of long stories behind that. Yep, that's correct. And then you have to have a good base. Your road bed has to be good all the time with concrete. Yes. Yep, we do have some here in the yard, mostly on the main. If you go out both east and west of town, we have a lot of concrete. Actually, the entire coal line is concrete. So some of these these locomotives here, these are some of the stored locomotives I talked about. I think when you ask how many diesels are running, this is a part of that large group that's in a storage status. We keep those as like, I guess you would call it a surge inventory, so that if there's service interruption or those type of things, where things slow down, we're able to plug locomotives right back in to bridge the gap, keep things moving. Go ahead. No, I'm going to venture to say Chicago and LA. Oh yeah. Now I will say there are some fantastic artists out there. It makes you wonder what they do in their other time. Yes. I've even suggested we just like take some of these covered hoppers, these solid gray cars, and we just, if we put them into storage for a customer, just park them somewhere where they notoriously get tagged, leave a bunch of paint out and decorate the cars in. Yeah. Yeah. There's Yep. That's correct. Yeah, it seems like on a lot of them, if the identifying marks are still there, it gets left. There's a, looking at those auto racks, there is an auto rack running around this system. I swear I see it about every third week with Homer Simpson laying down on it. It's, yeah, full length of the car. It is the full length of the car. It cycles back across this east-west pretty regular. So now we'll go under the east hump. This is interesting tidbit here. Of all of the crossings, all of the, what do we got? How many miles of rail inside of here? 397 miles of rail, 900 and some switches. Lots of crossings. This is the only signaled crossing that requires you to stop if the lights are flashing inside the yard. Go ahead. Graffiti on the locomotives drives me crazy. I'm not a fan of graffiti on locomotives. I don't condone graffiti on cars either. There's some cool art on them. Locomotives, for me, that's a kind of a source of pride with the company. I like to see us when we have the nice, beautiful yellow locomotives with the beautiful flag flying. Nothing else. I don't get as offended by that one, but preferably people respect property and not do so. But everybody makes choices. You, young man. Well, I hear Florida's pretty nice. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say that one out loud. You know, I really would have thought the Union Pacific and the Kansas City Southern would have made a great network. As far as a railroad perspective, it would have been fantastic. I don't think anybody in the government would allow Union Pacific to merge with another Class 1 railroad. My preference would be the CSX though, because I would love to go hang out in Florida. The chassis system? I'm not sure. Chassis. Where does the chassis system originate, Wade? Wade does not know either. Okay. It may well have been. I am not certain. That's a good one. I'll remember that and Google it for the next one. Unless you're Googling it now. All right. So here, maybe we'll get to see them release those last autos. They already let go of them, Wade. They let go. There's no eyes. Oh, here they come. If you look off to your left, here comes a cut of cars off of the hill. So you see all these airbags and everything. Everything's going to go to work here on the retarders. You hear the squealing, that's pinching the wheels to slow it down a little bit. there's actually little readers set up all along the rail that pick up the wheel speed and then sends it back to the computer that tells it what the repetitions per second are, to then calculate the amount of clamp or give it gets going through the retarders. Way back when somebody had to ride the handbrakes, I have not been around. Wait, when did they stop riding the handbrakes? Yeah, the computer system now is pretty darn smart. It'll sense if the cars don't make it all the way. It'll tell you if there's a stop short. It gives an alarm. There's a yard controller that sits in the tower. They'll acknowledge the alarms. They have to like visually confirm and do certain things. It'll clamp the cars up and stop them. We call it a catch up. Keep them from going in and cornering each other. Or if they're coming off the hill pretty hot, they'll slow them down just because it recognizes where other cars are in the system. You see all that rock, and up top there, we're actually building it in to do a full diamond replacement on the east hump. Something that used to take it would probably be like a 4-day deal. They're going to take a 20-hour curfew, start to finish, replace the entire thing. It'll actually be a pretty wild engineering marvel when they get it accomplished. Go ahead. Yeah, if a car doesn't go far enough, that's part of what the computer system will tell it. Did it stop? We call it a stop short. Did it stop short of getting in there? What the computer system then does, the next cars, any cars going into that group, it'll swing those cars to a different rail to make sure that it doesn't corner the car, like collide corner to corner, or go in and couple. Sometimes you can force a car into there as long as you've confirmed that it's not hanging out with a risk for cornering. And you can drop another car in there to couple up, give it a little more speed and go. Typically, the safest route is you just shove down the hill, couple into the car, shove it into rest, and then resume hump. Pull back up and resume humping. Yeah, if it stops short and we know it's in the clear, like there will not be any cornering or derailment risk, we can release another car into it, open the retarders a little bit, manually control them, and allow it to have enough speed to couple in, and then finish the two there. It is a little bit of an art. Every so often somebody tries it and they're not good at it and they shouldn't do it, and we go pick up cars. But you would not want me to try that one. Not my wheelhouse of expertise. So yeah, they're going down now. So they finished humping off their cut or classifying there. They're going to run down. That's probably what they're going to do, is to couple up some cars that probably did not go all the way to where they're supposed to be. Once you start filling up the rails, they slow them down, and that's when you start to see them stopping short. And then when they finish off like that, they'll go down into the bowl, couple the cars, make sure everything's shoved in, enough room, and then proceed back up the hill to the other side and start humping again. Yep. So we have a hump crew that humps the cars. Sometimes they'll end up down in the bowl coupling. On the other end, there's a trim crew. So that trim crew is going track to track to track, getting all the different cars in their block for the departing train to its destination. So say all the Fort Worth cars are all together in one rail, or in 5 rails. They go couple up all 5 rails, trim them out in the order that we send them to Fort Worth, drag them to the departure yard. Once they hit the departure yard, a carman comes out, or car person, excuse me. They come out and they start lacing the air hoses, and they do a full air test on the entire thing to meet the federal requirement to be able to go 1,000 miles. And then the power comes out, gets tacked on, and the train departs with the crew. Yep, just running in. So nope, don't need a person. The trim end is where they go in and they get all the cars together and they go out and build the train. So if you think about a receiving yard, the inbound train comes in, and a manifest train will have cars for 10 different locations on the system. So then it goes over the hill, and the hump sorts them out into all of their different destinations. The trim end then is on the other end, and they come in, they start coupling rails, for each destination, and they pull them out to the other end. But everything couples. When they pull a pin, it leaves one of the knuckles open. Typically, if you have one of the two knuckles open, they'll couple up and they'll lock. There's a whole mechanism inside there. No air, correct. So on the inbound inspection, the cars are inspected for defects and bled of any air so they can roll freely. So this is the supply department right here next to us. It's attached obviously to the diesel shop because this is the largest diesel shop we have on the network. It's also the largest supply department. We just implemented a hub and spoke type of supply system where North Platte's one of the hubs for the mechanical freight car, and we're shipping in an awful lot of inventory while we add on to the supply department here. So that's what you see on here. But this is the North Platte diesel facility. They turn out around 40 locomotives each day from repairs or periodic inspections. Yes, sir. Yes. Union Pacific's new paint scheme, I love it. I was one of the vocal people about not having the flag back by the engine compartment, and I like the fact that we moved it up onto the front where it's less likely to get damaged. Yep. Well, you get. I mean, all it takes is a little pin-sized hole in a rubber fuel line, and then with the heat inside of there, just a little mist, and pretty soon it's a big fire in the engine compartment. So. We will work on some. So there is the question was, you've seen some other, we'll call them foreign carrier, but like a CSX, a BN, some different class 1 railroad locomotives here, and she asked if we work on them. Sometimes we will, if it's something like a running repair and it's covered under Wabtec, if it's GE or covered under EMD. The railroads share locomotives because it's one big network, right? So we have trains that go offline and go to the CSX. CSX will take off one of our locomotives, go run it, and then they have to give us an engine to come back. Sometimes it's a CSX engine, so then it comes back. We call it horsepower hours and horsepower sharing. Everybody keeps a running tab of who owes who money and locomotive hours, and we share them back and forth there. How many locomotives fit in the Lincoln building? We can hold right around 75 locomotives inside that building. Oh, on a single track in there, if you go to the longest tracks, which are over here on the north side, I think you can hold 16 locomotives inside on one route. The paint schemes, right now it's on overhaul. So there's some out here. Take a look. That 5699 there is probably a 2005 model. It does not look like it's been repainted. We see another one sitting there. The 4723 was probably overhauled and repainted in the last 6 or 7 years. So a lot of it depends on the timeline of repairs, and then is there damage to it. I saw one more question. Sorry, I did not mean to ignore you. Yep, so we do still, so North Platte, as large as it was, we used to have over here in the superintendent building what we called the Bailey Command Center. And inside of that, North Platte had its own corridor managers and dispatchers. Those have all been relocated to Omaha, Nebraska, and it's ran from Omaha at the Harriman Dispatching Center. Each yard, though, when we go by the east hump, they have 2 command centers, one for the hump end, one for the trim end, with a person in that tower 24/7 observing everything, controlling everything. Same thing on the west hump yard has 2, and then the run-through yard, the parts that I oversee, we have 1 person that oversees the 5 yards here. You bet. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Hopefully it was a good tour. You got to see something cool. Good deal, good deal. Did you really say that's going to be boring, Wade? Hopefully nobody...
So, thanks for watching this video on my channel. If you like the video, give me a like, comment on this video or any other videos I posted, and subscribe to my channel. It certainly helps me get the views that I'm looking for, and do all that good stuff that I send you. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on my next video. Alright, bye bye.